The first chapter of the movie is titled The Holy Girl. It begins with Narcissa, who had been performing miracles ever since she was a little girl, making her famous among everyone. In 1949, Narcissa arrives at a convent to help out after most of the sisters have already left. There, she meets Sister Julia, who gives her a tour of the convent before taking her to meet the Mother Superior. While waiting outside the office, Narcissa notices a small ball lying on the floor. She looks around in confusion, but doesn't see anyone nearby. A moment later, Julia comes out and escorts her inside. The Mother Superior is delighted to meet Narcissa and warmly welcomes her. She even shows her an old newspaper clipping featuring Narcissa as a child, back when she was known for her miracles and was called the Holy Girl of Balasar. The Mother Superior tells her how grateful they are to have her at the convent and explains that she will soon take her perpetual vows. Narcissa is surprised by the news, but the Mother Superior reassures her that the bishop believes she is finally ready and that everyone is pleased to have her there. Julia then explains that Narcissa will be teaching Spanish, literature, and natural sciences, replacing Sister Inés, who had to leave the convent to care for her elderly parents. Julia also tells Narcissa that she will keep her informed about everything happening around the convent. Later, Narcissa heads to her room and begins unpacking her belongings. As she tries to place her suitcase on the top shelf, something blocks it. Curious, she lowers the suitcase and discovers a small box hidden behind it. She opens the box and finds a pair of scissors, a letter addressed to Sister Inés from another convent, and a photograph of Sister Socorro after her death. Suddenly, a chair moves on its own and crashes to the floor. Terrified, Narcissa rushes out of the room. As she looks around, she notices the drawing of a hanging noose on the wall. The following day, Narcissa introduces herself to her students and scolds them for talking and making too much noise. One of the girls, Rosa, asks to leave the classroom. Narcissa is confused since class has only just begun, but then she realizes the girl has accidentally wet herself. She immediately lets her leave and asks her sister to accompany her. Later, Narcissa goes to confession and tells the priest that she has many doubts and struggles to believe in many things. The priest is surprised because she is known throughout the convent as the holy girl everyone admires. He wonders how someone like her could have so many doubts and advises her to embrace God's love and continue following her path. Afterward, the Mother Superior shows Narcissa a book containing photographs of every nun on the day they took their perpetual vows. While looking through it, Narcissa notices that one photograph has been torn out. When she returns to her room, she retrieves the box and compares the picture of Sister Socorro with the book, realizing it is the missing photograph. The moment she says Socorro's name aloud, the chair falls over once again. She leaves the room and notices the same ball she had seen earlier. It begins rolling by itself along a line marked on the floor, and Narcissa decides to follow it. The ball leads her into the convent's basement, where she discovers an object wrapped in cloth. She unwraps it and finds a preserved human hand. When the Mother Superior learns about the discovery, she is overjoyed and calls it a miracle, explaining that the hand had been missing ever since the war. The second chapter is titled, If You Write Your Name, You're Cursed. As Narcissa walks through the convent, she notices one of the sisters hurriedly preparing food. She offers to help and asks what she's making. The nun explains that the meals must be ready before morning so the children can eat breakfast. The sister behaves very strangely and insists that Narcissa taste every dish. Oddly enough, she keeps calling her sister Inés. She then brings out a special dessert and offers Narcissa a piece. Just as Narcissa is about to take a bite, the nun insists that it has to be eaten in a single bite. She then forces her to eat a second piece at the same time, claiming that the dessert only works if two pieces are eaten together. Although frightened, Narcissa reluctantly obeys. As she eats, the nun bursts into hysterical laughter. Suddenly, Narcissa notices something horrifying inside the woman's mouth as blood begins pouring out. The desserts transform into human eyes covered in blood. Moments later, the nun steps back, revealing that both of her own eyes have vanished. Horrified, Narcissa screams, only to wake up and realize it was all a nightmare. After waking, Narcissa learns that if she truly wants to become a nun, her head must be shaved. She then heads to class and tells the students that it's laundry day. Later, she approaches Rosa and tries to ask what happened the day before, but before Rosa can answer, a loud noise comes from the chalkboard, and her sister quickly silences her. Later, Narcissa joins the other sisters in prayer, but she suddenly notices that her hand has been cut and is bleeding. At the same time, she sees a woman floating in the air before her. Before she can make sense of what she's witnessing, Julia interrupts her and asks her to take care of the children that evening because she needs to assist the Mother Superior. Narcissa goes to the children and scolds them for dancing before turning off the music. However, they beg her to teach them a few dance moves so they can attend dances after they graduate from school. Eventually, she agrees and teaches them a few simple steps. The children are thrilled, laughing and enjoying themselves before she finally settles them down and gets them ready for bed. That night, Anna Maria calls for Rosa to accompany her to the bathroom because she's too afraid to go alone. After a great deal of pleading, Rosa finally agrees. As they walk down the hallway, Anna Maria feels as though something is following them, but they continue to the bathroom anyway. Once inside, Anna Maria hesitates and refuses to use the bathroom until the faucet outside is turned on. Rosa impatiently urges her to hurry up, but then they suddenly hear the faucet start running on its own. Terrified, they walk over to investigate and discover a pair of scissors lying on the floor. When Anna Maria comes out of the bathroom, they notice that the water in the bathtub appears to be boiling. Floating on the surface is a lock of Rosa's hair, so Rosa reaches down to pick it up. At that very moment, Julia arrives. Meanwhile, Narcissa begins whipping herself as an act of penance, feeling overwhelmed with guilt because of her constant doubts. After finishing, she senses something surrounding her. She looks into the mirror, which suddenly begins shaking violently, while a nearby chair starts moving on its own. Narcissa then heads to the girls' room, where the two girls tell her everything that happened. She notices the scissors and asks Rosa where she found them. Rosa replies that she found them in the bathroom, and that the girl in the water had left them there. Julia immediately slaps Rosa across the face and takes her away. The following day, Narcissa notices that Rosa is missing from class. She searches for her and eventually finds her locked alone inside a small cell. When Narcissa asks why she's there, Rosa explains that she told Sister Ines the truth, but no one believed her. She insists that the convent is haunted by the ghost of a little girl. She goes on to explain that when Sister Ines drew the missing second leg on the figure painted on the wall, the ghost wrote her name, and shortly afterwards she left the convent. Rosa also warns Narcissa that anyone whose name is written will be cursed. Narcissa then takes Sister Socorro's photograph and visits her grave to pray for her. Later, she returns to the Mother Superior, so she can be dressed in her vow ceremony robes. The Mother Superior remarks that Sister Ines would have been proud to see her like this. However, Narcissa points out that Ines left because she was terrified, not because she had to care for her elderly parents. The Mother Superior becomes furious, denies everything, and leaves to find someone to help adjust the dress. While waiting, Narcissa looks at herself in the mirror. Without warning, the fabric around her neck tightens violently, choking her. She struggles to breathe and desperately tries to pull it away, but her body begins convulsing. The buttons on her dress burst off one by one, and a horrifying wound suddenly opens across her back. She then jolts awake, realizing it was yet another nightmare. Still shaken, Narcissa goes to class and keeps a close eye on Rosa, who appears terrified. Suddenly, Rosa stares at the chalkboard in horror before screaming and running out of the classroom. Confused, Narcissa looks at the board herself and sees Rosa's name written over and over again. She follows Rosa to her room, where Rosa tells her that she finally believes the convent is truly haunted because she has seen the little girl herself. She begs Narcissa to help her see the ghost again. Rosa leads Narcissa to the drawing on the wall, and together they decide to finish it. Holding hands, they draw the missing second leg, completing the figure. Narcissa nervously looks around but sees nothing. Rosa, however, stares toward the far end of the room and bursts into tears. She says that what she's seeing isn't the little girl at all. It's something completely different. Panicked, she runs away. Narcissa chases after her frantically, searching every corner of the convent, and even asks Rosa's sister to help find her. During the search, Julia confronts Narcissa and demands that she leave the convent. She accuses her of being a fraud from the very beginning, claiming she never performed any miracles at all. Julia insists that Narcissa must have seen the devil and only returned to regain the fame she once had and make headlines again. Narcissa ignores the accusations and rushes toward the confessional. Inside, she hears a voice and believes it's Rosa. She tries to open the door, but it's locked, so she enters the room next to it. Suddenly, the door begins shaking violently. As she calls out for help, she hears a man's voice speaking to her. He tells her that she brought the innocent little girl with her so she could witness the truth, and by doing so, she has committed a terrible sin. He says she already knows who he is, but she simply can't remember. As Narcissa approaches the window, countless eyes suddenly appear before her, followed by dozens of hands reaching toward her from every direction. Moments later, the door finally swings open. Narcissa crawls out onto the floor. Then another door slowly begins to open. She sees a large figure standing before her and freezes in fear. But when the door opens completely, she discovers Rosa hanging from a noose. Overcome with horror, Narcissa breaks down in tears and screams. The third chapter is titled Sister Socorro. Narcissa decides to leave the convent, but as soon as she steps outside, the sun suddenly disappears, leaving only a crescent moon in the sky. She collapses to the ground and begins repeating the same strange movements she performed as a child before her body starts trembling uncontrollably. Julia rushes over to calm her down, but the moment Narcissa touches her, she experiences a vision of the past. She sees the events of the war, when soldiers stormed the convent, destroyed everything inside, and assaulted one of the sisters. When Narcissa regains consciousness, her eyes have been severely damaged, and she can barely see. She tells Julia everything she witnessed about the war, but Julia refuses to believe her and walks away. After Narcissa's eyes are bandaged, Sister San Gerardo stays by her side. Narcissa asks her to bring the photograph from the box. The moment she holds Sister Socorro's picture, she realizes that Socorro was the nun the soldiers assaulted. She also learns that the other sisters knew exactly what had happened. When Socorro gave birth, they decided the baby would never leave the convent, so no one would ever discover the truth. Horrified by everything she has seen, Narcissa begins crying tears of blood. As she washes her face, Socorro's spirit appears and reveals what really happened to her daughter. When the little girl's fever became dangerously high, Socorro wanted to take her to a doctor. Julia refused and instead brought the child to the bathroom to lower her temperature with cold water. Sister San Gerardo and the Mother Superior were there as well. As the frightened child struggled, her head accidentally slammed against the bathtub with tremendous force, killing her instantly. Socorro screamed and cried uncontrollably over her daughter's death. Once she realized there was no hope, she took a rope, climbed onto a chair, and hanged herself. When the chair fell, it made the very same sound that Narcissa had been hearing throughout the entire movie. Julia later enters the room and is horrified by what she finds. She collapses in tears and begins praying for Socorro. Narcissa also breaks down after finally learning the truth. Exhausted and heartbroken, she apologizes to Socorro. Suddenly, Narcissa is transported back into the past. She sees Socorro knocking on a door and opens it for her. At that moment, the past and the present merge together, allowing each timeline to affect the other. The past begins to change completely. Socorro comes back to life and embraces her daughter. In the past, Julia runs away from Socorro, and everything that happens to the younger Julia is mirrored by the Julia in the present. Eventually, a massive statue falls on her, crushing her to death. At the same time, present-day Julia dies in exactly the same way, and her name mysteriously appears written on the chalkboard. Meanwhile, the Mother Superior is standing beside the bathtub in the past. She senses that something is wrong and stares into the water. Suddenly, a hand reaches out, grabs her, and drags her beneath the surface. At the very same time, the Mother Superior in the present begins drowning as well. Bloody water floods the room until she dies inside her office. Socorro then returns to her daughter and gently moves the little girl's legs. Miraculously, the child comes back to life. Narcissa is overwhelmed with joy, and it is finally revealed that this had always been her true gift since childhood, the power to restore life. The story then jumps ahead to 1991, where an elderly Narcissa is now teaching literature at the convent. Two students mockingly refer to her as the Nun of Death, while laughing among themselves. Narcissa simply looks at them and smiles. With that, the movie comes to an end. Thank you for watching, and see you in another movie recap.